Cool. Yeah, awesome. So I think we wouldn't go through the sort of introduction that Christina did. So, but just to set the scene, I guess for everyone, as I was saying before, it was a session we did with Vivo guys, with Albert and Andrew, Alberto and Andrew, and and we ended up catching up with Louis, and we were discussing on the half of the session of the stream. We were just discussing bridges, so we thought it'll be good to have an entire session on bridges. So I've got here Louis, Alex, Ashton, and I think Christina will join us as well. And Sione from CaspaCom as well at some stage will join us. So yeah, why don't we jump straight into it? I think, Aston, you were just going to tell us about the alliance itself. You were about to say things while we got interrupted. So why don't we jump back on the question, which was, how sort of what is the structure of the Kaspa alliance, and right now it's between yourself and Nacho and Zealous, but over time you would want to expand it to more, I guess, more entities that could be part of it, right? Yes, and
Man, sound is not on our side today. That's funny. Apologies, Ankit. I did not unmute myself.
no, that's fine.
Uh,
Don't worry. I think it's these things happen, so it's all good. I can hear you. Everyone can hear you. Yeah. So I think the question is, how you guys thinking of, if people some people might have not heard of the Caspa Alliance. Perhaps it'll be a good session for them, and get to know about the alliance current, but also future plans.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to put it simply, it's designed to be the community's foundation, right? We're working on governance with our development team, and Lewis and his team have participated in this discussion as well. But there's two other large organizations within Caspa that do really important and contributory work, right? We have CAF that has a lot of contributing enterprises
Hmm.
that participate, right? There's a lot of kind of OKX and Ice River,
Yeah.
and they deal a lot with like Circle and USDC. We see Caspa Key that does more of the industrial government, sovereign nation energy type work, right? But we didn't have one that really champions the otherwise unrepresented voices, right? The vibe coders of the ecosystem, the unfunded projects. So your question in the YouTube live was, do we plan on expanding it over time, or are there more projects involved? The easy answer is yes. Anyone can be involved. If your focus is contributing to Caspa, you care about doing it in a decentralized and transparent way, we're here to champion your work. And we're just barely getting started. So
Right.
there's more information that'll be shared at the event in Berlin,
Okay.
where we kind of officially launch the foundation for the first time, even though we've been doing some work. But
Right.
yeah, hopefully good intro.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I guess the only, even though we want to discuss the bridges side, but I think the question I would have, when you already have KEF, who actually ended up building or supporting to build the KRC20, right? End of the day, Cosplex build the KRC20, protocol. Then why do we need, I guess, the sort of Caspa alliance? Because can't they? I mean, that's a different question for them, perhaps. But I guess the question I'm asking here, they could have, I guess I'm just trying to ask, like, what is Caspa alliance going to be doing that's different from KEF? Because KEF is doing some good work, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we don't look at it ourselves as competitive to, or trying to judge or compare any of these other groups,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's complementary to it. So
Right.
we add to decentralization by having more organized parties contributing.
Mm-hmm.
And the topic we're talking about today, I think, is a really good highlight. So you highlight something really perfect. KEF built, or not KEF, KEF supported,
Supported.
funded
Yeah.
Casplex, which built the KRC20 protocol and the subsequent L2.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't build a bridge to connect KRC20 to that new protocol they built.
Mm.
And they shared with us that they didn't have immediate plans to do so. So I think that's a wonderful way to highlight exactly why
Yeah.
having more decentralized parties contributing helps. So we're here to fill gaps and do it in the way that maintains the Caspa ethos. Easy way to remember it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess, people do push back on KEF. There are obviously plenty of voices that have voiced against KEF in one way or another. Not necessarily that they're not funding the projects or not doing the work, but I think, yeah, this has been perhaps somewhat personal also. But yeah, we can skip past those things. We don't need to focus
Yeah,
on.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I honestly don't think any of those are really relevant
No.
to our conversation
No.
here, or why the Cat Foundation exists at all.
No, no, no. I think, Junie, yeah, Junie has explained that. I think if people want to watch it, they can go to XXIM and watch Junie's episode. And he's done a good job explaining the backers and how it was formed and, all the details there. But yeah, cool. All right. So let's move on to, I guess, so that's about the Kaspa Alliance, and you guys going to discuss more, in, I think, end of this week or early next week, 13th, right, when the event is. So that's great. More news will come out. So let's perhaps just jump straight onto our topic for today, right? So that's discussing the post you guys put together yesterday on Kaspa Alliance. Your bridges, it'll be bidirectional bridges, so it'll be from layer 1 to layer 2 to layer 1 for KRC20 points. Specifically, KRC20, we're not going to talk about Kaspa itself, it'll just be KRC20. So that's very big news. Obviously, Casplex are not going to be doing the bridges themselves. They've sort of put up their hands and said, hey, this is not area for us. For whatever reason, I do have I'm chatting to Kaspador tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll find out some details from him directly. But yeah, that's very exciting that it's between, as of today, Kaspa Alliance is between yourself, Nacho, and between, Zealous guys or Lewis here. So perhaps why don't you tell us, what the plan is, and then we can dive deep into the details of it.
You want just a general overview of
Just
plan for the bridge?
Yeah, please. Yeah, just a general overview. I don't know how many people actually have had the time to look at that tweet. A couple of tweets you guys did, but we can go over them, and then we can get into the details of why we need the bridges and sort of how you're thinking of the architecture behind the bridges, because that's quite exciting, and it's sort of it's a topic that perhaps needs people need to understand the reasons behind it. So, but yeah, we can start with the general overview.
Okay, yeah. I mean, general overview is it's pretty straightforward at a high level. It's a bidirectional bridge that takes KRC20 and mints a equivalent amount on the Casplex L2 when deposits happen to the bridge vault on the layer 1. And in reverse, when burn events happen on that layer 2, layer 1 assets, KRC20, are released and sent back. So completely bidirectional, completely on demand, user initiated. There's no real gatekeeping or kind of approval process anywhere in that flow. So it is all like self-custody, user generated. Like this, we one of the biggest tasks I think with this was, well, there's probably two, but one is just linking a layer 1 and a layer 2 wallet securely and in like a transparent way where anyone can go to a on-chain transaction and say, hey, this asset was bridged to the correct address on L2. So that was a difficult challenge, but Lewis and I and our associated teams worked a long time on that architecture and thought about it. And Casplex kind of left a little Easter egg for us in this way.
Yes.
Their
Yeah, exactly.
KRC20 stack allows some extra arbitrary data in it. So we leveraged that and actually put that link on chain. So yeah, it's fully transparent. I mean, bridges are interesting because even though this is a multi-sig, the decentralization part comes down to who controls those 5 Frost key shares on this. So I don't know if we can really say perfectly decentralized bridge, but we worked hard on getting as close as we reasonably could.
Yeah, I guess this is the challenge which we'll probably be discussing later on in this session, right? Like what are the solutions there, right? There are not many solutions when you're trying to build a bridge. You have a couple of options there, and this is one of those options. There are not many options, but that's cool. I think that sort of sets the scene. but I think so the plan here, I guess, broadly speaking, is to do the bridge for two of the biggest projects, right? Like on KRC20. So that'll be yourself, Nacho, and then there's Zealous, right? So these are the two big KRC20 protocols. Sorry, I think someone is saying more volume, please. I think both of us, Aston, we might have to increase the volume. Volume is not on our side today, guys. Sorry. Apologies. And just before I finish my statement, I was going to say, guys, it's an open space. Please come up, discuss. We have, I think, 4 speakers. We'll have more. But if anyone has any question, want to interrupt us, please come up. It's been a while. It's been a while. We haven't done many spaces. We used to do actively spaces. We pulled back, so I'm quite excited to actually to do this one. But yeah, please come up if you have any questions to ask or anything to engage on. Sorry, I think volume is still on, not on the side.
I increased mine significantly, so
Yeah, let's see.
if your ears just got blown out in the headphones, I'm sorry.
Hopefully this might be better. I've removed my headphones. Let's see if it works without the headphones this time around. But yeah, please. Oh yeah, it's good. We got some thumbs up here. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So yeah, I was going to say, like, as I was sort of putting my question to you, I guess this is a necessity for you guys, right? Like you have to come up with a solution very quickly when the layer twos go online, IGRA and Cosplex. You need to find a solution. So sort of it's the necessity that pushed you in that direction. Is that fair statement to say?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really highlighted by the fact that we spent so much time doing nothing on this subject, hoping, yeah, expecting, kind of praying that the L2 would come with this functionality. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've kicked myself a couple times that we weren't a little bit more proactive and gave more time to do it.
Yeah. I think, it just sort of highlights that looking at the current market cap of, $60 million of an entire KRC20, it is important. In crypto terms, it might not be a lot, but man, it's a huge market cap, and you need to find solution to make these coins perhaps somewhat usable, right? Not everyone will bridge it, but it gives an option to the holders of KRC20 to start to bridge it and perhaps create some utility. There is no harm keeping on layer one, but if you want to start earning some rewards or a lot of things that are getting created now, you'll have to bridge it. There is no other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of projects have just invested so much time and effort into building out the existing ecosystem. That's at least that's true for Nacho, and that's why we were adamant about the two-way solution existing. Because I mean, if we were some massive VC funded ecosystem, like think Base or
Yeah.
something like this, we could we could as a community kind of strong arm some of these centralized exchanges and say, hey, support our new layer 2 immediately. You guys are going to be the bridge. But Caspa's not at that level yet, right? We're
No.
a smaller ecosystem, and these exchanges may just go, hey, we don't really care. Let's look at the docs for a few months before we integrate. And that's a scary possibility when you've got a lot of listings that are siloed when the token can't come back to L1.
100%, 100%. And again, I think it's perhaps everyone hoped that Cosplex will come up with a solution with a solution, or at least some sort of open protocol for the community to run some bridges themselves. But yeah, I guess they decided not to go ahead with that in that direction, for whatever reason. But yeah, so you guys just have to come up with that. And alongside, I think Kaspa.com announced they're gonna bridge their own, right? So they are saying they're gonna bring a different bridge. So have you spoken to any of the builders? I know Caspa the Ghost, those guys gonna use your bridge, or at least Andrew mentioned that that's what they're looking at. Any other builders you've spoken to?
Yeah, there's a big Telegram group, Casplex EVM builders that
Okay.
I cannot remember who set it up, and I probably should. It might have been the Wildcard DAO
That's
guy.
correct.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Liz. Yeah. So he set it up, and we're all in there and talking and collaborating. It was a little bit of a roller coaster. It was like different
Yeah,
projects announcing their bridges, and then going, "Hey, well, we're doing it this way, and we're doing it this way." But I think there's been a lot of general consensus around. Maybe there's different approaches, maybe there's different solutions, and there's a lot of there's a good use case for each in different projects. We just had to align to make sure like the social side of rolling out these bridges was done properly, right? And there was no one saying, hey, we can both bridge the same token and start, kind of creating these unnecessary battles. So
I see.
I don't know, Lewis, what you think, but from what I've seen in that chat, it's uh, very positive. Everyone's collaborating well, and it seems like there's good consensus on how to keep everyone safe here.
So these are
That's correct.
EVM builders, right? Lewis, yeah, you can go in a second, but these are EVM builders. But KRC20, not many.
No. They're all the KRC20 projects, and
Oh, I see.
the chat is just called EVM builders because they're
Right.
they're the original CAS projects that are also now building on the
Oh, I see. I see. It's just called EVM builders, right?
yeah.
I see. I see. Okay. All right. That's cool. Sorry, Lewis.
Uh, yeah, so I was saying that it was a very fruitful group chat because we agreed on most things that will benefit everyone. It's not like just having one project benefiting, but it was for the like we say greater good for the entire ecosystem. So we agreed on using the same wrapped gas. So not every DEX would have a different wrapped gas, and people have to swap and swap back to move to another DEX. We
Mm.
also agreed that the project that want to use, let's say, our bridge won't be on other bridges, and vice versa. So if a project chooses to be bridged through the KaspaCom bridge, we want it to our bridge, and that would prevent creating multiple underlying ERC20 tokens on that too. So, from as Ashton said, from a social side, it benefits the ecosystem. So users won't be uh, uh, like they won't. Uh, Sorry, I don't get the word, but like they would
It's
find
like
the correct address directly instead of finding which one is the official one and stuff.
So these are from the KRC20 builders perspective, so projects perspective. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
You're looking at like
correct.
CaspaCom
Yeah.
and us and Zealous and KSPR bot and
I see.
Caspa Finance, I think.
Yeah.
These guys are all in here.
Okay. I guess the other question is what are the other solutions? And if there were any other logical solution that you guys came across, obviously you would have chosen the best one. But were there other solutions that were close to it, or that, like, before we get into the actual solution and go into the deep dive into the solution, what were the other solutions that sort of the builders came up with?
Bridge wise.
Just for the bridge, yeah.
Okay, so no other bridge has publicly said what the architecture is or how it
Oh, I see.
works. But as far as we know, the Casper bot bridge is a two-way bridge, and the CaspaCom bridge is one-way bridge from the L1 to the L2. Ours, the Cat bridge, is a two-way bridge, and we shared the infrastructure and the documentation of the bridge. And it is, let's say, as decentralized as it can get, as far as we thought of.
Yeah,
If someone thinks of a better solution, we can implement that. We are open to it. But as far as we studied and came into conclusion, that is the most decentralized infrastructure that we thought of.
I see. I see. I see. I see. So that's and so I did not know the KSP or bot. Did you say also launching a bridge also themselves?
That is correct.
Oh, okay, right. I know
They
KaspaCom.
they have one. Sorry, Ankit, I didn't mean to interrupt. They have it live in the testnet bot already in
All
Telegram.
right.
So that's where a lot of this data is coming from, I think. But
Right. Awesome. Yeah, nice. I guess KSPR bot. It's yeah, it's specific to Telegram, I guess. So, but yeah, cool. They have their and have you tested the testnet? Have you guys looked at it?
I haven't personally yet.
Okay. Louis, have you looked at KSPR bridge?
No, I tested the DEX, but now I know that there is a bridge.
Okay.
Like it's like I know that they were building one, but I didn't know
Yeah.
that it's like
I see. All right. So why don't we get into the CAT solution then, CAT's bridge? Because that was very interesting and quite, innovative slash, as I said, semi borderline decentralized, because that's the best you could do at this stage. So why don't we get into that? The solution that you guys came up with, which is rather simple to explain. But there has some sort of nuances which people need to understand, and which we're gonna go through. So, do you want to go, Louis or Aston, whoever wants to go, and perhaps just give us a rundown quickly?
I think I can expand the EVM side how it works because we worked on it, and
Oh yeah,
Ashton can explain the Caspa side because they worked on it.
I see. Cool.
Took the
Yeah.
words
So
right out of my mouth.
maybe we can go with the layer one first, layer one to layer two, before we get to EVM.
Sure. Lewis, why don't we just ping pong back and forth and follow the flow of the assets? I think it'll be the
Okay.
most fun way to talk about this.
Okay, so let's do from bridging from L1 to L2.
So
Okay.
maybe let me set this scene. So I'm the user. I want to send 10,000 zeal to layer two. What happens from there on?
Yeah. So the first thing you do is visit the Bridge UI website. This is the only place you can initiate a bridge transaction. And this is
Okay.
really important because it's how we build that custom envelope that links the two wallets. So what you do is go to the website, you choose the assets on both sides. You really can only choose one. It automatically fills in the other network side. It does check to make sure the tokens are bridgeable, so only projects that have wanted to use the bridge and properly onboarded will list there, even if you've got other tokens in your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
So you choose the one you want, type in your 10,000,
Right.
and then you just process a KRC20 transfer. It opens up in the connected Castle wallet, and it automatically builds the KRC20 script and this custom, in the documentation, we call it an extra blob. And this is from the original docs with Casplex. But essentially, their data insertion stack has a reserved channel,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. We squeeze it in right in the middle of the stack, and right now it's just empty. It's just arbitrary string data. So what we've done is essentially build a message that's signed by the EVM wallet that confirms the signature hash, the address it's going to, the amount of tokens that you're sending, and all of this, and then actually embeds it in that KRC20 transfer. So back to your question, if we just reset real quick, the user comes in,
Yeah.
they choose their assets. The first wallet transaction is MetaMask or whatever your EVM site is. It's not actually a transaction. It's just a message to
Yeah.
cryptographically link your wallet, and then it gets embedded in the KRC20 transfer on chain on L1
Okay.
as part of that deposit. And that's it. That is all that happens in the UI. It's just a simple deposit transaction. Everything else is picked up by relayers separately. So
Of
those
course.
relayers will watch the L1. They'll find that transaction happening and they'll verify it. They'll wait 20 blocks, should be about 2 seconds for us on this L1, and then they'll verify this data, and then they will attest on the L2. And Lewis will step in here.
Okay. I do have a few things, but I wanted to again mention to anyone, Alex or anyone in the community, whoever is listening, guys, please do come up if you have anything specific. I'll make sure that we'll get you to speak up, and obviously, guys can answer your question. But yeah, Alex, if you have anything, please do jump in as well. But yeah, cool. All right, Louis, off you go. Yeah.
Yep. So basically, after that, the relayer confirmed that the L1 transaction is valid. It checks
Yeah.
the data inside of the transaction. It checks the signature that has been passed to verify to which wallet it should mint
Mm-hmm.
the equivalent of tokens on the L2. Once that is done, We have 5 layers. Each layer has its own L1 indexer and its own database. So each layer independently checks the L1 transaction and verifies it.
Yeah.
And acts upon it. Once that is verified, each layer casts a vote to the L2. The vote will be about like mint 10,000 tokens to that address using this transaction hash.
Yeah.
So once we have like 3 out of 5 votes for that transaction, it gets executed on the L2. So basically, 3 out of the 5 layers should agree to do the mint. After that, they verified that the L1 transaction was valid. Then the mint happens, and the user receives
I see.
his tokens on the L2.
I see. So that's when the tokens get minted on layer 2. And in this case, we're specifically talking about Casplex layer 2, not IGRA.
Correct, but it can work on Tigre also. We can extend that bridge later.
Yeah, yeah. I think for now we're specifically talking about Casplex.
Correct.
So yeah. Cool. All right. So guys, can I simplify this? Because I think there are a few steps and terminology that perhaps we can simplify, but there are steps that I didn't quite get it. So can you bear with me if I go through the steps, right? So and you can correct me what's happening, both of you. And again, anyone can jump in, guys. So I send my 10,000 zeal. The way I understood it, I'm sending my zeal to a specific layer 1 address, right? If I'm going to the website, right, the bridge.ui you mentioned. I say which token I'm taking. So in this case, zeal specifically. I'm not sending my KRC20 zeal onto layer 2, right? So I'm sending it to a specific address in that process, right? To layer 1, because obviously messaging can only happen, but initially the tokens has to arrive, right? Is that fair statement to say that I'm sending this token to a specific layer 1 address?
Absolutely. You're sending it to the Cat Bridge vault address, which
Cat
is
Bridge Vault,
yeah, a specific address that doesn't change over time and is not token specific. So
yeah.
the layer 1 address is just universal for the bridge, and absolutely, you are giving custody of your tokens to Cat Bridge.
Yes. So again, I just wanted to highlight that it's a custody uh, done by the Cat Bridge itself. So it's the vault that's managed by Cat Bridge, and the token then gets deposited there, which will happen on whatever wallet you guys use. Kaspa mentioned. And then from there, you have the relays, right? Relays, let's call them nodes, right? These are like obviously you have indexers first. They'll index all the data that comes in on the layer 1, and then you have relays that are perhaps just checking if that actually happened. If what you said you're going to do, like if I'm the user, I said I'm going to send 10,000 to this wallet, to this cat vault. I did it, and the relay and indexer will just make sure that that happened. And then from there on, each relay will kick in and say, okay, that happened, that happened, that happened, that happened, that happened, right? That's the voting process that Louis just mentioned, right? Like out of 5 relays, 3 or more has to confirm, and then the minting process can start. Is it, again, fair statement to say?
Yes, it definitely is. The only one
Correct.
exception I'd like to add is like you mentioned the relayers are verifying what the user said they were going to do.
Mhm.
And this is more or less true in theory, but in technical details it's different, and they're completely disconnected services. And I think from my view, it increases security. If the user interface, the website told the relayers, hey, I got a bridge transaction, go find it, we may see an attack vector where someone can say, hey, I've got a bunch of bridge transactions I processed, go look for them. We don't do that. The bridge UI and the relayers are completely separate. So that bridge UI just pushes the transaction on chain. The relayers are always watching on chain, and they find it independently
Okay.
so that they can just only process
I
the
see.
on chain data and not be distracted. You know what I mean?
Fair point, and I think it's more of a operationally efficiency also. So attack vector plus, it's more. I guess it's least operational efficiency right now because you're indexing everything, and then you're just trying to
Correct.
find. Yeah, that's more better statement to say. not operationally efficient that way. Would have been, but that's obviously causes the attack vector there. So okay, I get it. I guess the point I was trying to make is more of you send it. A user might think that is because you send it through the website. It's trying to look for that transaction, but that's not necessarily that what's happening. It's just constantly looking for the data, and it might have on the payload some details about this specific bridge, and then obviously payload you guys can filter through the relay, right, through indexing and relay. That's cool. So now you have out of 5 relays, 3 said, okay, cool. All right, this transaction, I can see it. It happened. Confirmed. So it's waiting for the confirmation. Confirmation happened. Everything is cool. Now I can basically, link up that wallet on the EVM side, the messaging, which part you mentioned, Ashton, and then that's when so the signature happened, multisig happened with 3 more, and then obviously minting will happen on the equivalent or other side of the bridge. That's the process, yeah. So once the multisig's confirmed, and then you can link up the wallet, and then the minting will happen of the same asset.
That is correct.
Louis, do you think it's important on the L2 EVM side that we make the distinction between multisig and the voting structure of that contract? Because the bridge contract really is not multisig, right? And I don't want to incorrectly represent it as multisig when it really is more of a governance contract than anything.
Which side? Which side? Sorry, Ashton. Are you talking about the layer 1 side, multisig, or
Layer 2.
No, layer 2.
Okay.
The
So
EVM smart contract.
I see, but the layer 1, I mean, this is very interesting. I like it. So layer 1 is, I guess the relay is checking the layer 1, right? Relay is not checking at this stage layer 2. There's nothing happen on layer 2,
Correct.
right? So the multisig job is on the layer 1, no? Would you say?
Yeah, but there's no multi-signature in that job, right? I mean, from L1 to L2, the relayers simply pick up a transaction and verify that it did happen. So they don't have
I see.
they technically hold a partial private key to the other direction, but to this flow, the keys are irrelevant for relayers, right? The
I
key
see.
that matters is their L2 private key because once they verify that that data is on L1, they
Hmm.
go attest to it or vote
I see.
that it happened, and that requires an L2 transaction. So the key they're actually using is a single wallet key on L2 that has the permissions to vote on this measure, if you will.
I'm not sure if I get that part, but let me see if there are some questions. We have some questions.
Ankit, I have a couple of questions here. So it's exactly on that topic, and the first question I have, as I understand, there are that's what Ashton is explaining. Like there are 2 separate mechanisms. The first one is a consensus mechanism, like of how the relayers are deciding if the any kind of meeting should happen. Just a pull-in kind of decision. Is it happening or not? And the second one is like how the meeting will be executed through the smart contract of the token on the L2. And for the first part, do you plan to distribute, let's say, the relayers across the community, or how do you see this? Like, who will host these relayers?
A really good question, Alex. I don't, we don't have a long-term finalized plan yet that we're confident in, but the initial plan is separating it between 5 individuals that each hold a relayer across the 2 teams participating in this. So we create some independence around individual control, but we still have these 2 teams that know the bridge well, know how to operate it, and can get us through this initial volatile launch kind of cleanly. I don't know. I know exactly what you're getting at, Alex, and I want to have a really good answer that's in 2 or 3 months we can do X, Y, and Z that everyone can run a relayer. But I don't know exactly. It needs more
Yeah.
thought and planning. It's been a very urgent process so far.
Yeah, I think good question, Alex, because that's I guess that's where the attack vector comes in, right? Because that's also it sort of becomes that it's more centralized for now, which is fine because, as you say, you need a solution ASAP for the community, for the all the projects that are there, and they want to obviously bridge it to layer 2. So it's fair.
I think actually this not even about relayers is not even about decentralization. It's like you must have them more than one. And the reason is not that one of the reasons is not that you need to have some sort of a consensus of decision. But for example, if let's say you are transferring your 10,000 zeals to you want to bridge them to L2, and then if you have one relayer and there is something with internet, it just lost your transaction on L1, and then it just lost. So you transfer the your money, and then you need to go back in history and try to traverse it from that. So.
Sorry, you were going to say, someone's going to say something.
Yep. The thing with relayers that they go back in history when they restart, they always save the last blocks they processed and then reprocess them. The thing we want with multiple relayers is first of all, they are all disconnected. That's why they all do independent voting transactions to the underlying L2. The thing we want them completely disconnected is because let's say one of them gets hacked, you have 4 that are still valid, and that hacked relayer will vote for, let's say, a malicious transaction, but it won't happen because it's first 3 votes, and we can replace it if we know that it is misbehaving. So we can track that, let's say, this relayer voted for that mint, but the others didn't. Why? We check the history. There's no valid. There's something wrong here. Oop, get the relayer, spawn a new one.
Yeah, so the relayers are very important, right? Because you wouldn't want. So I think I slightly disagree with you, Alex. I think they are important attack vectors for many different aspects, right? And also given that, I mean, my understanding is this is relayer is just running on JavaScript, or Python scripts, right? These are how you're gonna set up these relayers, and across 5 of them they'll be running exact same structure across perhaps 5 different people will run it, but at least the attack vector will be the same, right? If someone were to, it'll be the same sort of scripts they're all going to run, right?
Yeah, but even if they like reconstruct the whole history and store it, that's still the time, right? So if they get out of the internet for an hour or something, it's better to have them 5, 10, whatever than just one single.
Of course, yeah.
But another thing that about the decentralization aspect, because like I see that the weakest point here is that not that relayer is going to be hacked, that somebody else will start to be pretending as a relayer. That's
exactly.
Exactly. There is no actually easy way to fix this vulnerability from the decentralization option, and even to make them decentralized, to make them, let's say, used by many people in the community, it's actually increasing the problem rather than decreasing it.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. I guess that's why you need like a good solution would have been a canonical bridge somehow, which is a single bridge, official bridge, if that was, or ZK bridge. That those are the best solutions. But as I said at the outset, right, there like not many options are there. So now it's almost finding the right solution between the solutions. But yeah, just going back to the relayer. So this is what we're talking about, the layer 1 side. So Lewis, what happens from there on now on the layer 2? So I think we corrected that part. So where does the multisig part comes in then?
It's not entirely a multisig. It's more like a DAO.
Okay, a DAO.
So you have a contract that has elevated permissions that can control the underlying KRC20 tokens, which is allowed to mint or burn. But that contract has something called minters. They are permissioned minters.
Okay.
And those minters, they are in fact the relayers wallets.
Okay.
The relayers can only have permission to vote if they want to execute a mint or a burn transaction. Once 3 out of 5 votes are reached for the same proposal, a DAO proposal, it gets executed. Basically, that's how it works. Who sets the mentors? It's also another DAO. It's an admin DAO controlled currently by
Which
the
DAO?
Nacho team and
Sorry.
us.
What is the DAO
Sorry, what?
called?
Sorry.
What is the DAO called, Lewis?
Real quick, Ankit, can I apologize. I just want to jump in because
Please.
there's the DAO name like sometimes like triggers like entity feelings and like big organization stuff. And what Louis is talking about here is just like the structure of the smart contract on chain. So there's no like
Yep.
Oh, I see.
entity or DAO somewhere that we can like talk about, right? What we're trying to make the distinction of is like if you have a multi-sig wallet, you're trying to process like a standard transaction or even a smart contract transaction. And it requires multiple people to sign that transaction for the thing to get executed. And at the end of the day, we just see one transaction executed on the L2 if it's a multi-sig. That's not how this works. What Lewis is saying is it's a DAO-based contract. So there are 5, actually 6 transactions that could potentially happen in this, where each relayer sends in a single transaction voting. I verified the stuff on L1. Here's my vote. You should mint. Once we get at least 3 of those, sometimes we will get all 5. The bridge contract then mints and sends tokens to the user, which is its own transaction, right? So it's a very small technical detail, but we just don't want to misrepresent and people say, hey, it's not a multi-sig on L2. We know it's not. It's not supposed to be. It's a DAO-based voting contract that each relayer is voting.
Right. I like it. I get it. I think I think it's good to clarify that because it did trigger those. Oh, is it a DAO that's controlling it through a multisig? It was confusing, but I think you clarified that. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ashton.
That's why it's good to have
I felt the runaway train starting. You know what I mean?
I think it's important to clarify things as you guys are thinking because language gets confusing sometimes.
Correct.
But that's cool. All right. So these 5 relayers check all the transaction landed on layer 1. One by one, they send their vote to the layer 2, and then obviously gets minted. Yeah, that's so far. That's where we got to.
That is correct.
Right.
That is the mentors DAO. We have also admins DAO, which will be controlled by the Cat Foundation, Nacho team, and us.
Okay.
The admins can vote a relayer in or a relayer out. So if we believe that a relayer is misbehaving, we can all vote and remove it and replace it with another relayer. We can stop the bridge from. We can convert the bridge to a one-way. We can pause minting if we see some, let's say, bad behavior. We can pause burning if we see also some bad behavior, and we can vote to migrate the bridge. So if we have a better solution later on, we have the ability to migrate it to a new bridge. So yeah, when we have more options to build better bridges, we can do that, or we can completely disable the bridge forever if we all vote to that. So basically, that's it. That's how it's controlled from the L2 side.
I see. Okay. All right. I think I am starting to see this piece. So just quickly on the multi-sig itself. I mean, multi-sig isn't the best form of security, right? Like many hacks have happened. In fact, there was multi-sig compromise. Multi-sig happened at the bit early in the year, right? So what do you?
Yes, correct.
And there was like $1.5 billion worth of Ethereum got hacked through this compromise of multisig, right? The pub key compromise that happened. So what do you guys like? I know we talked about them briefly, and obviously, as Alex said, I think there's a few different challenges here. Is obviously one that Alex mentioned, which is the more isn't the better solution here. But what are you thinking on the multi-sig side? Like what like right now it's I'm assuming it's 5 wallets that are within the cat vault or DAO, admins DAO, as you mentioned, right? So yeah, what can you share? I guess how you thinking of this multisig process itself?
Yeah, go ahead, Austin.
We're both thinking the same thing. It's funny. So the easiest way to clear up all of this is CatBridge actually has zero like true multisig architecture involved at all. 100%, it's not there, and I can explain why, and it makes a lot of sense. And the resulting environment or security of the bridge is, I argue, essentially the same, very, very close to identical to what a multisig is. But in both cases, from L1 to L2, there's no true multisig wallet involved at all. So on L1 to L2 flow, right, going to Casplex EVM, we talked about it's just a DAO-based smart contract. So we've got 6 regular things involved, 5 relayer wallets that vote and have the permissions to do it, and 1 bridge contract that is autonomous. It runs, on-chain smart contract. So no multi-sig on that flow, right? Just voting. On the flow back to L1, the only place a multi-sig would exist would be releasing the L1 assets back to the user on Caspa, right, on KRC20. So in this flow, the simple idea, user comes to the bridge website, they burn their L2 tokens by using the UI and processing a transaction. They say, hey, I want to bridge back to L1, makes them process a transaction. That transaction is burning the L2 tokens. Just as before, those relayers look at the L2, verify that transaction happened, and then the L1 wallet, that bridge vault wallet that you deposited the tokens in originally, needs to send them back to you. We tried very hard to do this with an actual Caspa multi-sig wallet, and we are 99% sure this is true. I don't want to say 100% because it's a chance, but
Yeah.
I worked with Anton Crypto Aspect, and he was kind enough to introduce me to Maxim, who wrote some of the Caspa Wasm, or much of the Caspa Wasm, actually.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear, neither of them are involved in this project. They haven't reviewed the code. I'm not saying they're working with us in any way, but they were nice enough to answer questions about multi-sig stuff. And what we found out is the KRC20 protocol itself from Casplex expects a single public key at the top of its data stack.
Okay.
So processing a multi-sig transaction that actually sends KRC20 tokens as part of it seems impossible.
Okay.
99.9% sure it is impossible because they only process their indexer will ignore it if it doesn't have a single public key at the top of the data stack.
I see.
So
I see.
we worked with these really we didn't work with them. We asked questions to these really smart guys, and they gave us some direction towards a Frost protocol. I'm not going to get the acronym perfect right now, but it's essentially like separating a single private key into shares. So it's a cryptographic technique that's well documented and academically challenged out there. And essentially, we generate the bridge wallet, that single private key that controls all the assets that are deposited, through distributed key generation, or DKG. And this means that the private key never exists to a single entity. It's created and immediately distributed into 5 separate shares, and each relayer gets 1. So they actually they use those shares to rebuild a private key and send a KRC20. But on chain, it's just a normal Caspa wallet sending a KRC20 transaction.
Oh boy.
Because it wouldn't work otherwise, right? It's just that the private key itself is sharded or is multi-sigged, even though the wallet isn't, if that makes sense, with Frost.
Yeah, I see. That's man. There's so many things you covered off. That's very cool. Just to clarify, I think for everyone, so there is no multisig happening from layer 1 to layer 2. It's just a voting process that you go through, right? So there is no multisig there, which you highlighted.
It's a DAO-based voting system.
Yeah. So there's this DAO-based smart contract voting system that happens one after another from the relay. So there's no multisig.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Good. That's good to know. But in case now you want to bring it back to layer 1, your assets from layer 2 back to layer 1, that's when it triggers. And I think as in like mentioned so many different things here, but cool. Just I'm trying to think from layer 1 to layer 2 before I get to layer 2 part. That is, I think I understand that there is no multisig part, which is great. And layer 2s, when we are trying to bring asset back from layer 2 to layer 1, KRC20, you have this constraint from the KRC20 or KRC20 protocol built by Cosplex. So correct me if I'm wrong here. So the constraint basically was that you can't have more than one public key there. They'd only accept one public key. So then you had to go through by splitting these each multisig into individual, I guess, smaller chunks to create one public key. Is that sort of what Frost protocol does?
Yeah, I think at a high level, a
It has.
simplified version. It's very very good summary.
Okay.
Basically, just creating the instead of the multisig being on chain with Caspa, it's a normal wallet that's been turned into a multisig off chain. Again, very simplified. There's academics out there that'll be like, don't describe it like that. But
Yeah, sure.
that's true.
Yeah, no, of course. I guess, we'll have to read up on that. I'm not aware of this Frost protocol, how it works and why it's needed and why. But in high level, I think I understand. So why, I guess, a simple one, like the thing comes to me is like why you need a multi-sig on the way back when you don't need a multi-sig. I would have thought initially, my thinking was that you need multi-sig from layer 1 to layer 2 because you're creating the assets there, you're minting the assets. On the way back, you're burning the assets on the layer 2 on EVM side. And then why do you need multi-sig on the way back?
So basically, from the layer 2 side, if you're bridging to the layer 2, the safest way, as far as we have now, is to have a DAO system that votes for mints. So we can't risk like one relayer getting hacked or even two relayers getting hacked. We can still have a safe bridge and we can replace them. That's the power of the DAO. From the way back to L1, if we don't have like the stuff that Ashton was talking about, if we have one wallet controlling them, basically like the private key would be on a server because the relayer should be signing the transaction. So if that server gets hacked for any reason, you completely lost control. But if you have 5 servers, you need to hack 3 out of 5 in order to.
So these are the okay, guys. Again, if I'm not understanding that. So on the way back, you have now all the things happening on the layer 2 side. So you need to make sure the layer 2, someone wants to burn, they need to go to this website, the UI, right? They have to go back to the website and say, we want to bring your assets back to layer 1, right? In that case, what happens there? Like, so you're reading, essentially you have to have indexers on layer 2, and then so you're basically redoing the same thing on layer 2 now. So you have
exactly.
I see.
The entire flow is mirrored on both directions with the same services. So when you're going L1 to L2, relayers are verifying on L1 and actioning on L2. When you're going L2 to L1, they're reading on L2 and actioning on L1.
I see. So these are the same relayers actioning across both chains. I get it. Okay, all right. Sorry guys if it was that obvious for everyone. It wasn't for me, so it's good to clarify things. Okay, all right. And so I'm assuming in that case, Cosplex will give you access to, I mean, essentially you are indexing the data, right?
Correct.
Because we are talking Cosplex here. Okay.
Yeah, we're indexing it and it's permissionless. So there's no like need or authorization. We're just using publicly available data.
Just the explorers there. Okay, right.
On-chain data, exactly.
On-chain data, right, on the layer 2. Okay, cool. All right. So I get it.
One question. Sorry, one question here. So if we reconstruct the same flow we have on L1 to L2, where the end action of minting happens on the smart contract level on L2. Here, somebody have to sign the Caspa transaction with a key that I got that the key is reconstructed from the parts, but who is actually signing it? Like, where this service is running? Who is signing this transaction in there?
Yeah, it's a sixth service that we call coordinator from like the development side of things. So there's more than just 6 services, but from a back-end perspective, you can think of them as 6. A coordinator, which is just a single instance, centralized, and then 5 relayers. So the coordinator is the application that takes the key shares from relayers, reconstructs the key, signs the transaction. All of those interactions are encrypted and hashed to keep those shares secure and keep the communication secure. And that transaction is queued in a system in case we have any race conditions or disaster recovery type stuff. So we set up a queue on that, and then those keys are just processed in memory as part of the transaction and cleared instantly. So it's rebuilt as part of the transaction flow by the coordinator from the shares provided by the relayers. Is that helpful, Alex?
Okay, so this I just try to understand the purpose of the complexity with this kind of multisig simulation through this signature splitting.
Yeah.
Because in the we still ending up in one single service who is signing transaction that theoretically can hash the end key because it's the same wallet every time. So, and to be honest, like just my, I don't know, few cents of the criticism of the whole thing. So I think it's like we shouldn't kind of pretend that there is a centralized bridge approach like entirely available for the current L2 that we have. And unless we will have some, I don't know, like opcodes for the scripting language in Kaspa that will allow to do this, and some decentralized oracles, like there is no such thing as the centralized bridge between Kaspa and layer 2. So I have a feeling like in L1 to L2, I fully understand the point of the relayers because in the end, the smart contract is the one who's making decisions based on this kind of a voting system. On L2 to L1, I don't really see the like this reason for such complexity, because like it's still in the end just the matter of trust to the one who will run this coordinator.
Yes. So you're 100% right, Alex. And there's 2 things I want to address like head on. One, I hope nothing in the process has ever claimed that it's a decentralized. We're trying to get as close as we can, but to anyone listening, it's absolutely centralized, and there is still centralization risk. So we're not trying to misrepresent it at all. The goal in adding some complexity that looks like decentralization or make it feel like we're trying to decentralize the bridge is from a security perspective. So to your point, Alex, which is the second thing I wanted to say, if we have a single service that holds its private key in memory as an environmental variable, as a constant somewhere, we believe that centralized coordinator has a bigger risk of hack and the assets because that key is far easier to access. Where instead, if we have 5 distributed relayers running in different data centers, different services, hosting providers run by different individuals, you will need to hack all of those, or at least 3 of them, to rebuild that Frost signature. So you're right that the trust and the centralization risk from a social interpersonal perspective, 100% the same. It fully exists, and we recognize it. But we think that the complexity and the way we built it helps technical security more, even though that social trust layer still must exist.
Yeah, this I fully get it. I just, my point of view is just like it's some sort of complexity that the one who will get an access to the coordinator, it's still already, since coordinator is constructing the same private key every time, because as I understand, you still like need to send it from the same address. So it's
You're right.
And this is like very frequent operation. Like probably the end result of the private key in an open way that you need to have to send it to the whatever Wasm SDK probably that you use to sign the transaction. it will keep in memory like such a significant time that it will be no a lot of difference between just to keep it in some vault on the backend side. That's just my point of view, and it's not about the criticism of the aspect that you try to increase the complexity to improve the security. It's just about like I have a feeling you are putting too much effort to make something, let's say, 1% secure.
I understand
Yeah,
you wholeheartedly, Alex, for sure. It makes sense. And to be fair, go through this journey with us real quick, because we spent the first few days with this architecture actually working on a true multi-sig Caspa wallet, only to find out that the Caslux indexer doesn't care that the transaction happened, right? It doesn't. It exists on chain, and L1, like Caspa, has no problem. It verifies the commit and reveal, but the indexer goes, there's more than one public key. We don't care. So this complexity is also just part of the journey where we go, hey, we're going to do a true multi-sig, and then we go, okay, shit, we can't do that. How do we get as close as we can now?
Okay.
yeah.
And Ankit, just my last question, and then I
Mhm.
shut up for for a while, probably.
No, please.
So the thing that you actually started from, that you mentioned this the chat where you're kind of aligned with another builders of the bridges, that if project decided to run on a bridge, they not gonna use another bridge, right? That's the point.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Exactly. And the main goal there, just for anyone listening, is just that the bridge, uh, in like almost every architecture we can imagine, the bridge will need permissions on a smart contract level to mint tokens on the L2. So if multiple bridges exist for the same token and they use the same contract address, which is the only way to do it, right? We need to have only one real contract address on L2 for these tokens. Then that means both bridges have permissions, and you have double the potential for hack and unlimited minting on L2 because they both have the same permissions to mint. So in that EVM builders chat, we were just aligning on making sure that, one, none of us as bridges say we can represent a project that doesn't want to be represented, right? They don't want to be on that bridge. They want to use a different one. We're not going to do something malicious and create another contract address that looks the same and confuse everyone. So that was the big first goal in that chat. The second one was just that if projects do choose to use multiple bridges, they need to understand that L2 minting risk, because if it's all the same contract address, you're just giving extra permissions to the same service that increases hack vectors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes total sense. My only concern about this is that, and just probably for everybody to understand, because here the problem, like with the minting the things on multiple bridges with the multiple smart contracts, even that's what we may end up in the end, because somebody will come up and say, we also made a bridge, yeah, without contacting to anybody else, and you can bridge your token. And I'm pretty sure we will have huge amount of scams like this in the future, where people will mint something that actually looks similar, but it's done on another smart contract. It even might be available on some DEX, but will not be available on other. So the main problem that I see with this idea that you will be connected to one bridge, and the bridge is the one who is holding, let's say, the permissions to the smart contract, is that if this DEX, for whatever reason, went down, that means that the only way, sorry, not the DEX, the bridge went down. That means that the only way how you can get back your assets, you will need to swap it to, let's say, the Cas or whatever, and that will automatically dump the whole thing. And if projects will not have any option how to migrate, let's say, this bridging from one bridge to another, that might be kind of some manipulative aspect by, I don't know, by somebody in the future. If you understand what I actually mean.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you mean. It's a really good call out. We have two ways that we can handle this. One, we've got disaster recovery stuff in process, or in implemented is the right word. Sorry, where we can actually rebuild this history if needed, and continue processing transactions if everything went down. The migration process is just a social layer, right? I mean, it's adding to this centralization and trust side. But in theory, if a project came to us and said, "Hey, we want to get off of your bridge," we could do it. It's as simple as migrating those tokens to the other bridge's L1 wallet, and then them moving over, their contract on L2 for a new permission, right? So they migrate on L2 to a new contract address, and Cat Bridge sends the L1 assets that were in the vault to wherever they go. It's really complex, really risky. I don't even know if it's a good
Yeah.
idea, but it's possible if
Yeah.
if projects and people coordinate closely enough.
Ashton, from the L2 side, they don't need to create a new contract. We can transfer ownership to the new bridge.
Even better. That's even cleaner because you don't have
Yeah,
to change the contract address. Nice.
we've built that to be able to upgrade later to a better bridge.
So yeah, not perfect, definitely centralized, especially in that scenario.
Yeah.
But possible.
Yeah. I guess I'll take a different approach here. I will say, like, if bad actors gonna do things they can even do now, right? Like we've seen on KRC20, people minted IGRA token, right? That doesn't mean obviously it was the official IGRA token, but it did happen. And if someone wants to do that, I think in your example, Alex, if someone does want to create a bridge and sort of get users asset directly to layer twos, I'm sure it will happen in one way or another. You can even take it further, right? A step further, hypothetical scenario. If someone wants to, I mean, I guess I'm jumping through perhaps some hoops here, but if someone wants to go mint some assets on layer two, Bridget mint some assets on layer two, and then go to, let's say, Zealous, right? You have XYZ token, you created some assets on layer two, and that's already got a pool on Zealous or any other DEX, and now you can sell a lot of these tokens, right? Like that's just to highlight the example perhaps Alex was mentioning, right? That's
Yeah, I
it.
would just not give the exact ideas to people
No.
about such things.
Such a good comment. Such a good comment. But
Well,
he makes really good points, man, and it's just a good opportunity for everyone to realize that these scams are gonna happen. Like
yeah,
we tried so hard to get ahead of the contract address thing. Like, don't bridge anything on any bridge, including ours,
yeah,
until you've seen the contract address from the project and you verify it. That's the important part with these
yes.
new L2s.
100%. I think that's perhaps what I wanted to highlight, that this, we can not discuss them, or we can discuss them and people at least get to understand what could happen. And if that could happen, it would happen at some stage. Someone will try to do these things. So it's better to educate than to hide away. So yeah, these are the scenarios I think Alex was mentioning. And these are ugly scenarios. And crypto, everything is possible. So just be mindful. That could happen, and guys are obviously trying to do the best they can with the current limitations they have, and it's up to us to understand, really. And I think, Alex, you mentioned so many things, man. Like especially around the Caspa canonical bridge, which one day, if that was possible, maybe after Sparkle, if that ever happens, right? Caspa isn't like Turing complete, right? So that's very hard at this stage, but perhaps with smart contracts on layer 1.5, if that could happen, that'll be amazing. But in between, we have a long way away. So that's great, guys. Like, it's good to hear the solution you guys are thinking. What about the, like? I mean, I was hoping Sione might join us from KaspaCom. He might have a different solution. But do you? Because I think I'm just thinking from a different perspective. I'm also thinking from a perspective of the token holders' perspective, right? Like, for example, like KaspaCom, they don't have a coin, or Kaspa Finance, they don't have a coin themselves, but they do want liquidity from KRC20. So they might have a different approach here versus like Nacho and Zealous. They both have KRC20 coins. So it's more of an urgency for you guys. It's not a liquidity thing. I mean, it is, but it's more so also about your own projects, right? But for those guys, there might be a different sort of thinking behind it. Have you spoken to Essence or Louis? Have you spoken to Sione or James from Kaspa Finance?
Here's the thing. So for our bridge, we wanted it to be two-way, although we believe that on the L2 we will have greater opportunities because it's limitless what we can do, especially that we want to create like revenue share and utility for the tokens, even Nacho wants to do that. We could have gone with a one-way bridge, but the thing is that most centralized exchanges, especially for Nacho, let's say, they are all on the layer one, and they will take time to support layer two. And if they will do that, and most projects have main listings on the L1, and like they paid a lot for them. So if they move,
I see.
so
I get it now. Yeah.
So if they move to the L2, the tokens, the only place they would be able to sell is on the DEX. And maybe if you only have like, let's say 2-3 DEXs and limited liquidity, the price will crash. You will have two different markets
Yes.
on the L2 and the L1, same token, different prices. So let's say 80% of the Nacho tokens move to L2, but the DEXs cannot handle that much of sell pressure.
That is
basically,
a very big point you're mentioning. I think it's good that we can focus on this point. It's a very important point.
Basically, even if there's a lot of liquidity providers, when they want to sell, they will remove their liquidity from the pool and sell on that same pool. The price will crash. But if we have the two-way bridge between the L1 and the L2, people can bridge back to the layer one and sell also on the CEXs. So that would divide the selling pressure on multiple exchanges.
Yeah.
Arbitrage is always a good opportunity.
Correct.
We kind of laugh and talk about like, oh, these are arbitrage traders. They're parasites. That they do a service to these markets. They keep everything in line, and we need them badly. So any project, if you create arbitrage opportunities, you get more stable prices.
I'm big on them from day one.
I was going to say literally that line, Louis, that since the first time we connected, we've been talking about arbitraging. it's your thing.
Correct. And we've been trying to find ways to give them swap fee discounts.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's good. Caspa community needs to get onto arbitraging. There's a lot of money people made on Ethereum between different layer twos and between the different chains, side chains, whatnot. But just highlighting the point you're mentioning, which is that because, and this sort of goes back to the question I asked, which is it's more of a priority and urgency for you guys than for someone like KaspaCom, Kaspa Finance, let's call them. Because obviously they don't have their token, right? Yet. And the point you're highlighting here, and just one question I wanted to ask, which is because all the listing on centralized exchanges, you would have paid 30, 40, 50K. I don't know how much on the higher end you ended up paying. These are expensive, right? Listings on the exchanges, and they want to make sure that there's no additional supply. There's so many constraints depending on obviously how you structure deal and what they want. But anyways, what you're saying is because of this two-way bridge, if there was no two-way bridge, the assets would have been stuck on the layer twos, and then you can't go to centralized exchanges. You can't do anything with it. You can't even bring back those assets back to layer one. That would have been like a sort of loop, half loop, which would have been bad for some holders if they bridge, or they would have been afraid to even go to the bridging. So you sort of forced you to build two-way bridge, as opposed to KaspaCom, because they don't have a reason to, as such, to build a sort of bi-directional bridge. So that makes sense. And just a question there, which is on if I'm now bridging my assets Zeal from layer 1 to layer 2, the layer 2 will mint wrapped Zeal. Is that because that's what I'm thinking, right? It's going to be wrapped Zeal.
It's the same it's the representation of the token on the L2. We will call it Zeal. It's the same, basically the same token, but it's representation on the L2.
Okay, so you're just gonna call it Zeal as it is. You're not calling it Zeal. Okay,
it's easier for everyone.
And I think honestly, I mean, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think honestly the wrapped component is when we take a native asset of a network and then make it a token on a different network, right? If I'm moving Bitcoin to Kaspa, which I really hope one day in the future I can do, maybe it's wrapped Bitcoin because it's not actual Bitcoin, right?
Correct.
But these tokens, a lot of times when you see tokens going from Base to Polygon or to Arbitrum or something, you don't have that wrapping process. You just have the same token that exists on a different network that is they're representative of the same project.
Yeah, I don't know the technology, like technical definition, but yeah, it could be true actually. What you're saying. So you'll call it zeal. So I guess that point there is if someone does bridge them over to layer two, zeal, and they get confused and they want to go to a centralized exchange and they say, hey, can I send my asset to this wallet? That asset is going to get lost if a user tries to send it to a centralized exchange from a layer two. So
Well, the nice thing about that is if the centralized exchange doesn't allow or doesn't support that L2, it won't even be possible because the
Correct.
deposit address on that CEX is going to be a Caspa address, and you're going to pop it into MetaMask, and it's
yes,
going to go, "What the hell? This doesn't make sense, right?" So
right.
this is the same concept as going to a centralized exchange and withdrawing or depositing USDT. You click the asset, and then it gives you a box that says, "Hey, what network do you want to use?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what we hope happens when they support the
Yeah.
L2s.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, but it, people have lost money because they send assets to some random things without seeing the network. Perhaps now I think people are more educated, but that has happened in the past where Ethereum assets got lost because people didn't see which network it was going on. So
Yeah, exactly, and that's a big problem with
that's a big problem.
the networks have the same address structure, right? So
Yeah,
this problem will get introduced for us when we see Casplex and Egra, because your same EVM
yeah,
address will work on both, but the
yeah,
Caspa address is different, so you
yeah.
kind of have a built-in technical safeguard there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah, I think yeah, it's worth highlighting why the process itself, and obviously the application itself. How one needs to think about their assets if they're bridging, and what could happen if they bridge one way versus two-way bidirectional. So that's another perhaps a key one there. But that's cool, guys. I think we covered a lot of points here. Um, Anyone who's listening, still listening, I think we've gone, I don't know, over an hour or something, maybe 2 hours. I don't remember the time now. What time is our? But any question from anyone? It's been a great chat, guys. Thank you so much, Ashton and Lewis and Alex, obviously, for your input as
Of
well.
course.
Um, I do have a few things, but I think yeah. Anything, Alex, you wanted to ask? I think we've covered off quite a bit.
One question maybe I have in back of my mind, like about any thoughts about the API availability for such bridge, or you see it exactly because of everything you mentioned? Is it only a process, the manual process through the website?
We do have like a read-only bridge that will, or I'm sorry, read-only API that will share list of mapped tokens, like what token contract address on L2 maps to ticker. But we also put this information in the L2 contract as a map. So you can also read it directly on chain. You don't need to rely on our Web2 API.
Okay, makes sense. And the second thing, it's not a question; it's just a comment. We started from the, let's say, statement that we're not going to discuss why actually like guys are building the bridge. But I think it's important to highlight, yeah, that because for me the whole thing is extremely weird. Like it's the way how this L2 let's say scaling is happening right now. Because imagine there is a company who is producing the doors. Like they have a factory of the doors. Yeah, they build the doors and they have a monopoly to the doors. And everybody's buying the doors from them. And then these companies say, okay, now we are building house. So they build a house. So you might not even think that in this house they're not gonna put a door. Yeah, and that's exactly probably what happened with this Casplex layer 2 thing. And I think that's the reason why actually guys have to build the bridge so urgently in the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, whatever you're working on it. And nobody even questioned this because it was kind of an obvious move, right? You are the one who is making the KRC20 protocol. And probably nobody from the community expected that the answer from the Kaspa team will that we are not gonna think about the bridge, even think about it, not to build it. So it's quite a weird move. I'm pretty sure there is something behind this. It's not just that the plan. Maybe they got some problems or something. But in my opinion, it's not something that we need, like, to ignore. It's quite weird.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Alex.
I totally agree with you, Alex.
Yeah, I like the analogy.
I believe the reason is, my personal opinion, is that it will always have a centralized component as far as the architecture is now. And I think they don't want to take on that responsibility. Yeah, so basically we've been told to build our own bridges. And like Ashton and I thought that not all projects will have the ability to do that. So we wanted to build a bridge that can have many projects. At first, we wanted to build only one for Zeal and Nacho and make it one way. So we completely burned the tokens on the L1 and we mint them on the L2. For us, it's okay. We have one CoinEx listing and we can manage to have them on the L2, and they confirmed that will be on the L2. But for Nacho, they have multiple listings, and some of them are very expensive. So they cannot afford to move the entire supply to the L2. So we started planning a two-way bridge. After that, we said like some projects won't be able to do that. So let's open the bridge for more projects.
Yeah.
I also want to add one other thing in there because I have a unique perspective, and this is not new. I shared this in the Casplex EVM builders chat and Telegram with all the other projects that are in there. So people have heard this before, but I personally believe, like from a principle perspective, that users have a right to retain the same like functionality and security setup that they bought in with or minted in with originally. And this is a small thing, and it's definitely me. It's for sure like a principal thing that just kind of like bothers me or rubs me the wrong way. If I go and I mint Nacho a year ago, back in last June or whatever, and I spent my CAS to get a KRC20 token that I can hold in my Kaspa wallet on my Tangem. And my project, the project tells me now you must go to layer 2. We didn't like help you research it. You're responsible for researching it. You're responsible for understanding it. You're responsible for learning how to use it, but you must use it. I don't like it personally, just for me. And I'm not throwing shade or saying anything negative about anyone else. There's a lot of people that will disagree with that. They won't care. There's a lot of projects that as a whole community will agree, like, hey, we want to do a one-way bridge for X, Y, and Z reason, and we like this decision, and all for it, support you. But I don't like the idea of telling Nacho community you must go use something that you didn't agree to use originally. So the listings are important. They are expensive. The double market is obviously the primary issue, but I'm really happy that we can kind of honor the principle that people expected originally, and they don't have to go participate in this if they don't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's also, I think, important. Just the last thing, important to highlight to everybody in the audience that it's kind of a miracle that guys have some chat with other dexes and they aligned on that rule that nobody will, let's say, duplicate the smart contracts for the same token. And I still think it will be a miracle if it's actually going to happen. So, because like if they would not do this, that it would be like such a disaster for the launch of the L2, because like people will start to, because every DEX, every solution will start to urgently build a bridge. It will be one-way bridge, as Ashton mentioned, or whatever. But another thing that people will start to mint the same token from KRC20 on L1 to the different DEXs with the different smart contracts. And then they will, and most of the people are do not really understand how these things work. They would not even realize that they're doing this. And then what they would end up with, they would try to swap the token they minted on one thing to another DEX. It wouldn't work, or anything like this would happen. It would be like hugely disappointed. And yeah, so it's really cool that you're in touch with others and at least aligning on some, let's say, basement, like some fundamental rules that everybody gonna follow.
Yeah. That's well put, and I do agree on all the points you guys mentioned. I do have a, I guess, just to move this forward. This is we're specifically talking about KRC20. We are not talking about KRC721. So that's the first part, and the second part, I believe you guys are not going to be bridging those assets as of now. And the second part is how you think between the layer twos is going to work. Because right now we're not even discussing the two obvious layer twos because they are not interoperable between them, right? So that's an interesting one. But yeah, what about the 721 first? All the NFTs.
For us, the NFT bridge was actually the first thing that we worked on. So we always
Okay.
knew that we were going to have to do an NFT bridge because we've got a unique situation with Zealous where you've got to stake NFTs to get revenue share from Moonbound and swap fee discounts on the deck. So this was just an urgent task from the beginning of hey, everyone has this
Yeah.
knowledge that they're going to use these, and we've got to make it possible. And we knew that Casplex would never build a KRC 721 bridge for it because it's not their protocol, right? It's KSPR's protocol. So that one just felt obvious from the get-go. So I posted this on X yesterday in response to Goonboy and a couple others, but we have a 100% centralized one-way bridge exclusively for NachotheKat's NFTs available right now. It works,
Yeah.
it's tested, it's been built for a while. And if we have to, we can use that. But the team and I have started discussing the logic change because the way 721 and KRC20 work is almost identical, right? So the logic that we built for this KRC20 bridge should be able to be adapted to that, but timing is such a difficulty with the launch and everything. So it's to be determined. No promises there, but we will be able to get the NFTs for our project on the L2, no problem somehow.
Yeah, but it's centralized, right? And that's I guess it's interesting because perhaps I'll circle back to it. But yeah, cool. All right, I get that part. So 721 is going to be bridge over for Nacho, not for any other NFTs, specifically for Nacho. That's cool. What about for Zealous? Zealous, you don't, Lewis, you don't have any NFTs, right?
No, we
Okay, yeah.
leverage the cat NFTs, and for the bridge itself, the architecture doesn't have to be as complicated as the ARC21 because it's a one-way bridge. So
I see.
that's the idea. We wanted to
Yeah, there's none of those like markets that exist for NFTs, you know? Like you
Yeah.
have CaspaCom as a marketplace, but they'll create an L2 marketplace.
Of
So it's no real
course.
difference.
Plus, you don't have any centralized exchanges also where you're
Exactly.
listing.
There's no like
correct.
magic to care about or
Yeah.
anything. So one way is fine, and
Yeah.
NFTs are kind of odd as an inscription on an L1 anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's how Bitcoin got around to it as well, right?
Exactly.
But
Very unique in the world of NFTs.
exactly. But I think, yeah, initially when I spoke to Lewis yesterday, I initially thought that, without knowing anything about the bridge you guys are building or have announced, I thought like, projects will be able to move entire supply onto layer twos. But then when I thought about it, I was like, man, this is not going to happen. I see now all the reasons why it makes no sense.
Force people to do it, it'd be so messy. And honestly, I don't even know if we can, because the only way is if you know where to send the new network assets. And
Yeah.
because we have different address structures, you gotta have them cryptographically link their addresses somehow, or you're just sending blindly.
It's messy. It's gonna cause a lot of issues. So I mean, yeah, again, just choose the battle, and that's a better battle to choose than doing that way. What about the layer twos between layer twos? So you'll have to build a similar bridge for IGRA when they I mean, they've got Caravel running right now, testnet. So that's the
I'm
same.
really curious to hear Lewis and Alex's opinion on this. I kind of assume that that it's the L1 side of this bridge is the complicated, risky part of it, right? So if we can only have one L2 to L1, and then there's just a separate bridge that goes L2 to L2, Casplex to Egra, then you've just got this chain reaction possibility.
That's a separate protocol. Like, I think we need a separate company instead of this alliance. You might have to start layer two
Well, it's the thing with that
interoperable
is
protocol.
between two L2s, they're just smart contracts. You don't need anybody. The only reason we've got to be involved here is because the L1 release side of things.
Right. But this is
But
the
if you go,
social contract, right? Like, that's what goes. What happens if one L2 stops? The state change doesn't happen because they're all listening to layer one because they're the way the sequencing layer one is doing based rollups, right? That's the word I was looking for. Because a base rollup is the sequencing is happening on the layer one. So how would the state change? How would the layer two themselves would know about
there must be some misunderstanding here somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where we're lost, but the idea is that if we have a bridge already, right, this cat bridge we've been talking about, I can go from KRC20 to an ERC20 version on Casplex. I don't ever need to go from KRC20 on Caspa directly to Egra. I can instead go KRC20 to ERC20 on Casplex through this cat bridge, and then simple 100% decentralized on-chain autonomous contracts on both Casplex and Egra allow bridging between those two. So if you ever want to go the full chain from
But
Egra
Aston,
to KRC20, you
I'm
can.
gonna interject here. Sorry, but I'm saying that's you're assuming that the consensus for them happening on their chains. But I'm saying that's the assumption that's wrong because they're not doing the consensus themselves. The consensus is happening on the layer one Kaspa for them because for that to happen, they have to have. I mean, that's my assumption. They have to have some sort of consensus to know that entire state change happened for them to know there's something bridged, right? So, and
But
then that if that happens, they need some sort of consensus. It's like, but they don't have consensus. That defeats the purpose of base rollups. Then
the thing is, the transaction on the EVM side won't happen if it was not like picked up and finalized.
by the layer one.
Depending on the layer two architecture, yes, depending on the layer two architecture, but we can verify that it happened. We can it can verify that it happened and it's mined. Yep.
Like look at Wormhole. They're
But they're
going
not
across multiple EVM L2s.
But they're not base rollups. I think this is where the base rollup is the key here, which is the KIP Keep 15. If you go look it up, that's what that happened with Keep 15 specifically, where the payload is checking what sort of transaction is it egra transaction is going to be Casplex transaction.
Yeah, you would still have to have two transactions that happen, one on each L2.
Correct.
But you're not
but
gonna.
you still will need.
Why you think the L1 KIP15 base rollup stuff causes a problem?
Well, because they don't have.
It ensures that they're sequenced correctly.
Well, think about the bridge you guys created, right? Like it's a centralized version, and in a way, you are with the voting system. It's a consensus protocol you guys created, right? Out of 3, out of 5 or 6, right? It's a consensus in a way, right? Or it is a consensus, right? And on the way back as well. So I'm saying, if the layer twos are just keeping the state, and the consensus is not happening on those nodes, and this is definitely true for egra. Casplex, I don't know because I haven't seen much of their documentation or haven't spoken to them. But if they don't have that consensus happening, then they'll have to rely on the Caspa layer one. What happened on layer one? But if nothing has happened on Caspa layer one, and you're saying EVM to EVM, so again, this is just my point. Perhaps we can chat to the team also.
You're making a really good point, Ankit, but I think we're forgetting that if something on Casplex happens, it did happen on the L1 because of base rollups, right?
Correct.
So if I burn my tokens on Casplex, it's happening on Casplex L2. and Kaspa L1, right? Not on the KRC20 protocol, but that transaction exists on Kaspa L1. So the idea of this consensus getting in the way of two L2s interacting, I don't think actually exists. It's simply inbuilt to the cycle, right? If it happens on
Yeah.
Kasplex, it's already been on L1, and if it happens on Igra, it's already been on L1. It's all good.
Well, I,
They don't need to like read it directly.
yeah, I do want to agree with you, but I think I do see not the transaction that has happened on the bridge side. I think I'm even saying for them to do the transaction, they have to keep up and create the nodes. So I'm not saying from layer one to layer two. I'm saying layer two to layer two. So from Casplex to Igra or Igra to Casplex, they'll have to manage some sort of consensus there if they were to do something like a wormhole in between or a bridge of some sort. So not again, I agree with you on the layer one side. All the transactions are picked up. If it happened, bridge happened. But I'm specifically saying if they were to do some bridging on the layer twos, then they have to specifically create a consensus for those transactions, just like you guys are doing now for your bridge. So just focus on those transactions, not the one from coming from layer one to layer two. We all agree on that.
Okay, but I don't think Ashton is talking about fully decentralized, 100% decentralized mechanism.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so you
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
you're totally on the right track.
you anyway need something on the middle that will, let's say, check the one transaction happened in one smart contract and let's say Casplex, and then start another transaction in another smart contract in the Igra, for example. And as Ashton said, all the transactions that these smart contracts will be executed, they still will go through one single Kaspa layer one. They will be in different formats, but you still may have this one orchestration, let's say, part that will check them all and let's say verify that everything went well.
Yeah. No, look, I don't disagree. I think for me, it just sort of it just feels another bridge, which again, it just feels. We need to chat to both the guys, I guess, when I get chance to talk to them. We'll definitely get answers from them directly because it might be possible that one is ready to do and other one isn't ready for whatever reason, right? But for me, it does deviate a little bit from the base rollup architecture. That is itself is not really based. It's more of a social consensus, as Michael Sutton said it himself. Because if layer two wants to pause one of the nodes or all the nodes, they can. There's no one forcing layer one is not enforcing the rules here. So it's not, so it is social consensus essentially. But yeah, I get the point. And I think I agree with you, Aston. I think it's more just, I guess, putting my intellectual hat on to see where this.
No, I totally get your point, Ankit. I just I think that the consensus here, because of the base rollups and because of how the L2 works, is like irrelevant almost to the conversation, right? The architecture of like multiple relayers, voting, that type of stuff that we have now would have to exist in this other system too, just like Alex talked about. But the actual like transaction consensus itself in L1 is kind of just inherent to the process and maybe irrelevant to the bridging.
Sure. Yeah, I think they can bring it up themselves or whatever, right? If that's the direction that project overall needs to go, that might happen. But yeah, cool. All right. I think we've covered so many topics, guys. I really appreciate time. I guess from the community, guys, any other questions you have? We see, I think smart contracts. Oh, that's it. There was a question from someone. Smart contracts this month. Yes, I think tentative 10th. Louis mentioned. Any other? Hopefully. I think we've covered off a lot of topics here. I think it's one of the longest spaces we've had. Anything, I guess, guys, you wanna cover off which we haven't had the chance to cover off so far? If not, we can.
Yes. One thing that we have now from the L1, from the centralized exchanges, is the ability for projects to have market makers, which will help their price action and like with selling pressure and stuff. But on the L2, we won't have that luxury from on DEXs. because market makers need to implement their software with the current DEXs, which they won't, of course, do right away, unless the DEX itself pick up traction and proves itself. So the advantage of having the two-way bridge also is that you will keep your existing market makers that will help with your token. Yeah.
So what I didn't quite get it, Louis. You meant just keeping the market makers on layer twos? I didn't quite catch what you meant.
Basically, market makers won't support the taxes from day one, maybe not even first month of operation on the L2 itself, because they need to integrate the DEXs in their
Wait, but
softwares.
there is no such thing as market maker on layer twos, right? It's the AMM, right? Automated market makers. There's no order book style like DEXs so far on layer twos. So why do you need a market maker on layer two?
Correct. But market makers can also draw charts, and if we have an order book DEX, they can help with that also. So their job is not just to manage the order book. We have many market makers, and uh, they uh, they manage multiple things. You can manage order books. You can manage like drawing what you say bullish charts. You have also selling bots that can sell without like hurting the price. So we have different types of market makers, and they use different types of softwares. So in order to integrate L2 infrastructure, if it was AMM DEXs or order book DEXs, they would have time. You know, they need time. They need, because it's also a cost for them to like actually do work to integrate the L2 itself and the protocols on it. So the luxury we have on the L1 itself right now is that we can have market makers on centralized exchanges.
Yeah. So does that impact the price in some ways? On like for Zeal token, for example, or any other KRC20 who are bridging to KR, like is there any concern that you're highlighting here?
Well, market makers help with the price action. Like as I said, they can like draw charts like bullish patterns and stuff. Uh, yeah, we basically onboarded a new market maker a couple of days ago, and our volume has increased a lot from like 20-30K to now 70-80K. So yeah, and it can handle like if the market maker is great, they can handle like sell pressure and help with stabilizing the price, and of course increase spreads.
I see. So this is all the centralized exchange side, right? Like that wouldn't be on. That'll be all on the centralized exchanges side, market maker, especially when you're talking about this volumes.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Because, I mean, yeah, you know, but that's cool. That's cool. I get it. So do we? I mean, in DEXs, I guess the term I would use is more of arbitrageurs that acts like liquidity providers, or liquidity providers that are acting like market makers because they are end of the day creating the market for you on the DEXs, which and then the rest of the job is of the price stability is done by the arbitrageurs, and because they are the ones taking risk, because end of the day market maker's job is to take risk on both sides, right? Buy and sell, bid and ask, and the same job is done by arbitrager taking risk on different dexes and centralized to decentralized. So that's what I thought, like, dexes usually you will call them arbitragers plus liquidity providers working together. That would happen, but yeah, I hear you. Cool. Anything, guys? Let's. I want to wrap this up. I really appreciate everyone's time and everyone who's listening. I think I'm sure you guys learned a lot about the cat. I'm sure Aston's going to announce a lot more stuff at the event itself, which is happening on the 13th. And anything else you want to highlight about the event, Aston?
Yeah, I wanted to say two things to wrap up here, and one was about the event. So yeah, if you haven't heard about it yet, I'm not entirely sure where you've been, but welcome. Experience.kaspa.events is the website. You can get tickets there. There is a student link floating around that gets you free tickets. You just need to bring a student ID with you to get in there with those tickets. But regardless, we've got a handful left for main event. The after party's been sold out for a little while, so you know, good, hats off to the people who got in. We're excited to party with you. But yeah, it's happening the 13th. First time we're seeing a live Caspa economy. We'll have merch, food, drinks, Tangent wallets, all available for purchase on site in Caspa only. And remember, guys, it's a marketing event. We are capturing content we can use for months and years to come. So you gotta get engaged. You got to show up. You got to load your wallet and actually go complete some scavenger hunt tasks at these booths and get things done. Um, the other thing I wanted to say is just as it relates to bridges and this L2 coming out, move slowly. Go to your project, the leader of the project that that you've been talking to for months, or the official X account, whatever it is for this project, and verify a contract address. Maybe verify it 2 or 3 times. You can paste it in a couple places and really make sure it's the same everywhere, right? Just be careful, move slow, get the contract address first. If you bridge tokens and you don't know what contract address you're expecting on the L2, you've already lost.
That's well put. Well put. I think, yeah, be careful. Treat money like money. There are a lot of smart ways people try to gimmick in crypto. Just be careful out there, especially when there is a new layer twos, brand new layer two has been created. Any closing words from you, Lewis and Alex, after that?
As always, thank you for having us. It's been a while. Also, thanks for everyone that is listening. If you have questions, you can ask me on Telegram or Ashton. We are ready to answer anything. And that's it from my side. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, Aston. Alex, anything?
Yeah, just say thank you to the guys for such a great work and stepping in to make these bridges happen.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you, Alex, for joining us and obviously having great discussion and perhaps making people understand how important this topic is for from different perspective, because I think as like there are more layers being created on Caspa. I think it's not just about Caspa itself; it's about different players, different incentives that are actually being held from different forces. That you might not get to see directly if you just see from one perspective. So it's important to see things from different perspective. So I think it was a very rounded, great discussion to have with the guys who are bringing a first known bridge, and I was hoping to have Sione here as well, but perhaps a different session with him. But yeah, look, I just want to thank everyone, and I really appreciate time, especially you, Aston, for coming such early in the morning. I know it was 5 a.m. for you, but I think it was great having you, and it was great chatting to you after such a long time. And Lewis, as always, you come with all the answers, and you know what you're doing. So I'm grateful for both of you, and along with Alex. So thank you, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. Appreciate it. Please do share this space with everyone. I think people are going to learn a lot about this, about the bridges, and they're going to learn what not to do and what to do. So just, yeah, if you could share this space after we finish up. But appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you as well, NachotheKat and Lewis and Alex.
Nice to meet you, Alex.
Nice to meet you too.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Cheers, bye.